Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my Megaburn video. For those of you who aren't familiar with this blaster, it's a mega derivative of Captain Slug's Caliburn, which is a 3D printed blaster that's super popular right now and is probably one of the most used platforms for 3D printed Nerf blasters. So this is, like I said, the mega version. It shoots the larger darts, and I plan on using this in game types where you need a special ammo type to take out a different class. So for example, in the games I usually play at, we have like a melee Jedi class where you can only get taken out by mega or ultra or missiles or anything that's sort of not the standard ammo type. So we've been having a lot more people wanting to play those special classes, so I sort of need a blaster to deal with that now. So I figured the Megaburn would be perfect. My Caliburn's a little dated. It's one of the, I think, over a year and a half, maybe 2 years old now. So it doesn't tear down like this one, and there's been a lot of improvements in the overall design, so I figured this would be a great opportunity to sort of build a new one. I had started building this one, however, I forgot to order the metal ramrod, which I kind of wanted to improve my performance, so I had to stop in the middle. I wasn't planning on making this into like a build guide because the instructions are always changing as the blaster updates, and Captain Slug has done a great job of making some really easy to follow instructions, so I don't feel the need to make that video. But what I think I'll do is finish this blaster and then we can go from there with some testing and other things like that. So a couple quick notes about the build. I went with a pretty unoriginal red and white color scheme for a Mega Blaster, but it just fits pretty well, so I just decided to stick with it. Plus I had a lot of the color plastic on hand, so I printed this. And I actually also printed a Griffin in a matching color set, so I will be set to show up with a pair of matching blasters, which is cool. Starting with the back, I pretty much printed all of the works, so like the thumbhole stock, any of the inserts, because I bought the hardware kit and then printed it myself. It didn't really cost any extra because I already bought the filament, so I did that, as well as this extra rail up front, which we'll get to in a second. With the red and white color scheme, I probably shouldn't have went with a white plunger tube because it's going to get dirty. So while I was assembling it, I decided to wipe down the spring with some isopropyl alcohol, and I got a lot of junk sort of off of it, which you can see here. So hopefully it'll probably rust again in the future, but at least for right now that'll be clean for while I'm filming the video, and then maybe over time it'll have to be cleaned again. Another thing is the ramrod. When I bought the metal one, came with this orange, and it doesn't really match the orange that I had printed for the other parts, but you can't even really see it when the blaster's closed, so I figured it's not a big deal, and I can replace it with the appropriate red one in the future that I printed and didn't use if it ever breaks. Towards the front, I'll put a link to the shroud that I used in the description down below. It printed really well. It's actually two pieces. It sort of connects there. There's like a little seam you can sort of see there, and it printed pretty well on my Ender 3 Pros, and overall it fits the blaster, I think, pretty well. I kind of wish the only thing is the top rail would be a different piece, so I could do like a two-tone, sort of like with my other Caliburn, where it has the rail is one color and then the side parts of the shroud is different. However, I really do like the extra design sort of wave pattern on this piece, and I think it's probably the coolest one for the Megaburn, so I'll throw a link to the Thingiverse down below if you want to print one of these yourself. The last sort of accessory that I added onto this is this 3-piece grip by Captain Slug. So I think you're supposed to use 440 hardware with here, but I didn't have enough left over, so I used the 632 by 3/8 inch screws that I had laying around, and those seem to work pretty well, and they pretty much fit in the same socket, so they're not too much bigger, and the hole still works, so they just thread right in, and I think they look fine. The only thing I would complain about this grip is I think the inside should be a little larger where the white is. I think the red should also be. This little back piece seems to be a little tight for my particular hands, and I don't even have very large hands, so I can imagine if you have big hands this wouldn't be very comfortable, so I might actually end up either modifying this file or just replacing it with another grip in the future. I am set up to run this blaster as a whole setup, so I have 5 of these Centurion Mags, 4 of which I bought online for a pretty good deal on eBay, and then 1 I had from my other Centurion. I might actually have 1 more lying around somewhere, but I haven't been able to find it, and it's not really that big of a deal if I show it on camera now. I'm really looking forward to the Moto Strike blaster that's supposed to come out later this year that has a 10-round Mega Mag, so that'll be cool because the Buzzbee Tyrant with the 12-round mag has been kind of hard to find recently. So if I can find one of those, I'll pick them up, obviously, either for the 10 or the 12-round mag. But like I said, right now the Tyrant's a bit hard to find and the other one's not available, so these will have to do. I believe there's also some 3D printed variants available for the Mega Mag, so I'll have to try those out as well. But for right now, I have these couple Centurion Mags, and that should hold me over pretty well with 30 rounds. You're not really trying to tag out a ton of people with the Megas. Usually you're just going for the specials in particular, so that should be plenty. Also, to combo that off, I bought about 500 of these Whirlwind Mega Darts with the AccuFake heads. So from what I've seen, these tend to be pretty accurate and fly pretty darn straight. So with this blaster, it should be pretty easy to sort of run up and tag out those specials like we were talking about. So it's good to have. It took a while for these darts to show up because they came from China, so it took like 3-4 weeks to get to the US from there with shipping and whatnot. So you have to factor that in if you're trying to play any games in the near future. But if you order in advance, these are pretty good darts for the price. I'll do a quick firing test with these 6 darts here just to give you a quick average of what this blaster should be shooting around. I'm using the stock barrel that came with it, not a longer version, and the K26 is my spring, so that should be around the higher end of what you can expect from one of these blasters with this barrel configuration. So with those 6 shots, we were looking at a high of 130, a low shot of 82, and an average of 112 feet per second. The performance for the Mega Caliburn isn't anything crazy, however it is pretty standard for like a modified Mega Blaster, so I would classify it as acceptable. However, I think if you were to put an O-ring maybe on this Ramrod, you might get a bit more performance. So what I mean by that is if you look on the inside of the aluminum ram here, it's just the sort of tapered end to help it slide smoothly into the breech. And there's nothing that actually creates a 100% seal between the ramrod and the barrel itself. Now I haven't tested this, but if you look at my other Caliburn with also the aluminum ramrod, this one has a small O-ring in the notch that's sort of lathed into it. Now that creates a better seal, and I'm not sure if that would work with this Megaburn, but it would probably improve performance. Like I said, I haven't tested that because I don't have a lathe, but that might be something to consider. So if you have that tooling available to maybe give it a shot, but maybe there is a reason Captain Slug did it with the normal sized and not the Megaburn. So like I said, I haven't tested it, but that's just a theory. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the blaster. I kind of wish I had to use the front tubes because that would balance out the black a bit more of that back tube that you can't really see too well because my black background, but there's one black tube and then I guess the O-ring, so it sort of matches that. But I think these would have balanced out the front look, but other than that, that's a pretty minor complaint. The blaster performs pretty well. I'm happy with the add-on pieces like the shroud, the grip I might replace like I mentioned, and then I think the stock is pretty nice looking on this blaster, and the Caliburns just in general. Transportation really hasn't been an issue with my Caliburn, so I haven't really needed to try out the breakdown, but I'm kind of digging the whole aesthetic update with this split magazine well up here. So I might have to update my other Caliburn to be a more modern version rather than the one from like 2 years ago, like I mentioned. So I might have to make another one just for the sake of it. Anyway, guys, that's been my Megaburn. I will hopefully get some gameplay with this in the near future as games start to open up. But until then, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video. Captain Slug decided not to do that.